What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Read Reviews podcast, where we talk about movies, TV shows, video games, and pretty much whatever the hell we want to talk about. Cody, how you doing?
Great.
Immediately we're doing this little thing, and the light is flashing and blinding from your watch right under my eyes. So it was perfect.
Gotcha.
Yeah. We did another fun. Let's recap a little bit about what's gone on since we did the last episode, because we had to do a week skip. I went to Mexico. We're not going to dive too much into that because I'd rather talk about the fun stuff that we're doing this podcast for. Mexico is great. Cabo, a little bit different than other places in Mexico I've been to. A lot more. It feels like you're in Arizona or New Mexico. It's weird. The heat is dry. It's a lot of cacti and desert. It was different. Sydney likes Puerto Vallarta a lot more. That's where family's from.
Pictures and videos looked very fun.
Yeah, it was great. It was for our buddy Mayo's wedding, so it was super fun. So congratulations to them.
Congratulations.
Yeah, it was a real fun wedding, as I expected it to be. But I went to Mexico, so we missed a week, and that's so last episode we did 3 and 4.
Yeah.
This episode we're going to be doing 5 and 6 of The Last of Us. I watched a lot. I honestly watched way more shit than I normally watch because I was on vacation, being on planes, being in the hotel room, and just kind of fucking off. I'm not going to talk about that too much. I'm just literally going to list what I watched, because I watched Sonic the Hedgehog 3. Had a great time watching that. There were some Super Saiyan fights in it, which were pretty fun.
Yeah, just a quick loved it, didn't like it, hated it.
Sonic the Hedgehog 3 was fun. It was a perfect airplane movie. Nice. I have no ties to Sonic the Hedgehog whatsoever. I haven't seen either of the other movies. I wanted to watch this one because I knew he fights Shadow, and Blair had told me that it was kind of Super Saiyan-esque, and I was like, I like that. That's fun.
It's Keanu Reeves, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Sweet.
That was, he's just everywhere, man.
Those movies looked fun.
A lot like Pedro Pascal.
Yeah.
Just fucking everywhere. Then I watched basically the whole first season of Avatar: The Last Airbender, my favorite show of all time, because that was on the plane. And then Sydney and I watched Shrek and Shrek 2 in the hotel room. Dude, movies.
Classic.
Those movies are way better than I remember them being. They have they have good adult humor, not like Minecraft adult humor where they're just 69 each other while they're flying through the sky. I'm going to bring that up forever because it's insane. But like the jokes are like well thought out, where like kids would be like not understand them at all, but adults are like, oh, that's like actually really.
Shrek's funny.
Like that's
still
great.
Funny, really funny.
Yeah. So watch Shrek 1 and 2. That was fucking awesome. That's it for that. I'm not going to dive in too much of those things. Just let's get into the meat potatoes. We're going to be talking about episodes 5 and 6 of The Last of Us. Cody did another thing where he came over and we actually watched it, or at least watched episode 6 right before doing the podcast. Yeah. So we're doing a fresh in our minds, at least of episode 6. Definitely not episode 5, because that one's week removed now at this point. I was not going to watch it while I was in Mexico. We thought about it. Mayo was talking about it, and I was like, I don't think it's going to happen. I'm not, because you're drinking the whole time. I wasn't like hammered the whole time. I actually did really good of not getting hammered, maybe a little bit on the wedding night. But like, you're not going to go back and watch something. We talked about this a little bit. You're not going to go back to the hotel room and watch something that you actually care about and something that's important that you really need to pay attention to, like The Last of Us or any of these heavier shows, or Severance, or just anything like that. So that's why I watched, Shrek.
You just watch good, just stuff you can put on in the background or just put on and know you're going to enjoy.
Yeah.
Or whatever's on in front of you.
Yeah, so The Last of Us was not going to be watched down there. So I watched episode 5. What is that?
Not me. Oh, it's his game.
Oh my God, it is. I cannot believe we hear that. Dilly, producer of 2 or 3 episodes, is upstairs making a video game right now, and we just heard his little sound from his game come over there. Yeah. I lost my train of thought. Oh, I think I watched episode 5. It wasn't yesterday. I was on my day off, so I think I watched it on Friday. So a couple days ago. We're recording this on Sunday, the 18th.
I watched like a week ago.
Yeah, you watched it when it came out.
Probably on Sunday.
Yeah,
when it came out.
So this is always a little bit hard when you're doing 2 episodes at once. It's a little bit easier because we just watched episode 6. But do you want to do overall thoughts on episode 5 and then 6, or do you want to do a whole thing? I can give you a synopsis of 5. I can give you a synopsis of 5.
Yeah, I think we should split them up because I'm going to have drastically different opinions on them. So I think 100%. We should really split them.
So let me do the quick, just the AI overview of episode 5. It's like 3 sentences. In season 2, episode 5 of The Last of Us, Ellie and Dina, while seeking out Nora, encounter a hospital overrun with airborne cordyceps spores. They ultimately find Nora, but she escapes into a basement filled with infected, forcing Ellie to chase her. The episode ends with Ellie brutalizing Nora, and then a brief dreamlike memory of her happier with Joel before the credits. So basically what starts out is they pick up in the theater, and they're making their game plan. Again, I don't want to just dive right into this shit, but making Ellie seem like a fucking dumbass right out the gate.
The only other key detail is being like, and Jesse shows up to save Ellie and Dina.
This is a very small thing. Yes. We're gonna get more. But that's just to like give you the foundation. But what did you think of episode 5?
Again, it was all over the place. Still being rooted in the issues that we've talked about of certain performances or just certain writing with Ellie and Dina at times that's just not hitting. Their relationship is really not working for me at most times. But I've grown to just be like, it is what it is. So the zombie stuff in that episode was still good. Again, as it is. They got like a bunch. They're in the warehouse or some sort of big building with what they thought could be maybe some zombies, but then it's like a bunch of the like smart stalker ones.
Which again, it's the cool stuff. And I can't remember who said. A couple of people said it. I think it might have been Matt and Mayo, or maybe Matt and Grant. I don't know. Somebody in our group chat. They were like, "Oh yeah, season. I was a little bit. It dropped a little bit after the last couple episodes, but they're like, oh, season 5 brought me back a little bit." And after watching it, I was like, oh, that's why, because there was another cool zombie scene.
Yeah,
what a surprise.
Yeah, it's not that I'm like fully out yet, and I think some of the convenience of timing things is what it is with like. It was chaos in that warehouse, and then Jesse just shows up and kind of murks a couple, and they're gone. It was like, okay, sure, whatever. I don't mind Jesse. I think he's a fine character. Stuff with getting to the lead into Joel at the end was like such a like, oh great, okay, so we're getting back to Joel finally, and I think it's just episode 5 mirrors a lot of the issues I had with prior episodes. Zombies and the stuff I'm really love, and then we get back to the like stuff I don't like, and
episode 3 was the same thing, right? Where they had the subway scene with the zombies, but then the other shit that I was just like, I don't care about enough.
I think it really is the lackadaisical and like whimsical nature of like it. I've seen people comparing it to like, it feels like when you're with Ellie and Dina, it's like road trip campy fun time.
Yeah,
and it's like it does feel like
that's a great and then all of a sudden zombies.
It feels like there's no threat unless the zombies are literally 100 feet away from them in the room,
or the other bad.
Whatever enemy, it has to be directly in front of them in order for there to be real danger. And it's like, we gotta figure out a way to balance these emotional scenes with some tension, I think, at times.
That's a good call. I guess they should because they're in different situations, but they do feel like kind of like different characters when they're loving on each other and when they're in the like fight scenes, which obviously they literally should. You should be in combat mode and you should be in lovey-dovey mode. But it feels like even when they're in lovey-dovey mode and even the kind of outside things, like, and this is more game stuff, I'm going to compare it to that a lot. But like, you would be, for example, the theater we talked about, I think in like episode 3 or 2 or whatever. No, 3.
Whatever episode it's in.
Where in the game you like clear the theater.
Yeah.
Like, and then while you're having not banter, but you're talking back and forth with Dina a little bit while you're doing that. But you still are aware of the threats and you're like trying to clear out this building that you guys are planning to sleep in. As soon as you get in a theater, it feels like you're just in like a safe room in like Resident Evil or something. Yeah. Like where it's like, okay, everything's good now.
Yeah,
like,
it's totally fine. No, there is zero threat for us in this theater.
It's kind of weird.
Chilling.
Yeah.
So that's another gripe, but again, it's
not a big one for me.
I'm still watching because I still think there are good things to be said, and that I think gets me to like where episode 6 now, today's episode. It was one of our complaints was the lack of context for a lot of stuff. Flashbacks, probably. We should have some moments where it feels like there's a lot of pieces missing. We got we got the flashback episode. This was all the flashbacks. In one episode.
Yeah, and I'll go over my quick thoughts of episode 5 before we go. Mine are pretty similar to yours, but we'll go into my quick thoughts of episode 5 too. For episode 5, it was more of what we talked about before. There's, like they said, that's why there's not too much for me to say about it. It's like, unfortunately they are making Ellie a fucking dumbass who runs in, guns toting, shooting, which she does do in the game a little bit, but it's different.
The map scene with Dina triangulating.
Basically saying, Ellie, you're a fucking dumbass and you don't know anything.
I hated that moment.
Yeah, and that's what I'm talking about, with everything. And episode 6, not go too much into that yet, but it shows that like Bella Ramsey is a good actress and she can perform really well, aside from the like not buying her as Ellie thing. And they just, I just don't like what they do with her. Like straight up 90% of the time, at least in season 2.
It feels nonsensical at times still. I think even with what we're like, when we get to talking more about episode 6, but now having known context and getting more of those scenes and background, it's like, I'm going to be honest, this makes choices for what we're seeing then even weirder for why she's acting this way at this time. Like, I understand motivations for anger, but the way she's portraying it is very weird. And the way it's being utilized is just not how I would think this character would do it, I guess.
Yeah. And so I thought, obviously, like we just said, the stalker scene, and I don't know, it's a little weird when Ellie does the sacrificial stuff in the show that she's done a couple times, because it's not like she can't be eaten to death. I know she's immune.
Oh, yeah.
But when she throws Dina in the cage, she's like, I can be bitten a lot. And I'm like, okay, but you can't just be ripped apart like a.
They do the shot of her like.
There's like 4 or 5.
She's like,
zombies on her. Yeah, like, dude, she's not ripped to shreds.
Yeah, it's like she should be dead. She's pretty much dead. I would. Yeah, any other person's dead.
Yeah, and so she, and then they make her go in and literally do the guns blazing thing, which, like we talked about when we were upstairs earlier. It was not the scenario that we went into. It was last resort. Like, there were way more stalkers in there, zombies than they thought. And this is cool stuff, cool aspects about this and how they're going about the stalkers in there. Ellie and Dina are treating the scenarios they're in like everything that they've been through before, except for the one time they experienced the stalker in the grocery store or whatever it was. They're treating it like what they've been trained and what they know. So probably their plan was probably a normal, good plan for like a normal situation.
Yeah.
But they go in there and they don't realize, and clearly for whatever reason in Seattle, like actually I think that Seattle, ironically, is one of the epicenters of the cordyceps breaking out. Okay. Ironically, kind of like COVID. But so maybe that's why, because the zombies there are older, and that's how they explain the stalkers. Yeah. But there's way more stalkers. There's I mean, we probably see 20 stalkers in this room there.
Yeah, there's a ton.
So they go in and plan like, okay, if there's 1. If there's 2, we've done this many times. Even if it's 2-on-1 against a stalker, we can do this. And then they start realizing there's a fuck ton of stalkers because they can hide. They can not make noise. It's not the same. Like, it's not the same scenarios you go into, which I thought that was a really cool aspect going into with the infected in that scene with everything in there. So yeah, I thought that episode was pretty much on par with the rest of the episodes. I thought episode 1 was pretty good. I thought episode 2 was actually quite the standout, especially with the fight scene and the Joel scene. I think they did pretty well. And then 3 and 4, I was just like, okay.
I also
was kind of still within that level.
I did like the ending with Nora and Ellie's confrontation. I still thought that was pretty good, and I liked the scene showing the airborne spores in the basement level. It was pretty cool.
We need to talk about that.
Yeah,
because so the spores thing. I just don't understand. I don't know. It's hard to think about the aspects and like why they make the decisions they do, and it's, you can only break them down so much. But spores are a thing in the game from the beginning. Like it's probably one of the first things you experience. You put on gas masks and you have to walk through the spores or else you get infected. The whole thing with season 1 was like, oh, okay, so all the game people are like, oh, there's just no spores in this universe version of this.
It's like it's a different way they're doing
it. Yeah, it's like, so, and instead they have the hive mind, the tentacles, the spores that grow, and if you alert them or whatever, a horde will chase you. It's like, oh, okay, that's kind of a cool, different thing to switch up than the spores. And then okay, so also there's more context to this too, because the way that Ellie reveals to Dina that she is immune is they have to walk into a spore area in the game. Ellie's mask gets broke. I don't remember how, and then she ends up taking off her mask, or Dina realizes it's broke, and Dina tries to like sacrifice herself for Ellie, kind of like in the game, I guess a little. It's not a sacrifice thing, but basically Dina's trying to give Ellie her mask, and Ellie's like, no, I'll be fine, I'm fine, or whatever, and they keep going and they run through, and that's when she tells her she's not infected. I actually thought Ellie's way was, I don't know, it's way better to do the spore thing, but Ellie's way doing it in the show is like, oh, okay, she just, used her arm to just block and hold out there and block the infected. I don't know, I think the spore reveal is cooler, like most of the things in the game, to be honest. But it's just so weird that they not only did they wait to introduce the spores until the second season, but they also waited to do it till the latter half of the second season, which just kind of seems weird because I feel like the spores would have been cool and something that would have mattered a lot in the rest of the show that they got rid of, which is a whole dynamic of the game that they don't have in this. So for you, that's new, I guess.
I don't know.
And people that are watching.
It is. I see it more. I'm like, when it shows up and is now a threat, I guess it's like, oh, interesting, a new thing. Like, oh, wow, so that's really bad if this gets out. But
in the game, it's everywhere.
And then it's like, well, didn't Ellie just open this and now it's open?
Yeah, we can talk. Yeah.
So I don't know if that's supposed to be what's going to happen or like that's the idea. But in my mind, that was like when they go down there, you hear the soldiers. They're like, the steel's broken. They're like, block the seal, block the seal.
Also, how's some steel and metal you're putting on an elevator door seal and an airborne virus? But whatever. That's too in the weeds kind of stuff.
That's a nitpick. But I see it as like, oh, okay, it is a cool new threat. I guess I'll just wait to see more party time. How it actually gets implemented more, what the real consequences of it are.
Yeah, I'm interested to see what they do with it too, because.
But I think it's interesting. I'm not like opposed by it, I guess.
Yeah, I'm not opposed. That's why it's annoying because I'm happy that it's in there because I felt like it should have always been in there. That's more of my thing. I'm like, this is something that always should have been.
It is interesting, I guess, the choice of now it's implemented as a thing. Like watching the show, you didn't know it existed till now, and now you're just like, oh. So is this everywhere else? Is it just in this basement? Like, is this the only airborne spore place in the world that exists?
And to me, maybe it is because it's an old thing. Too. Yeah, like it's down in the basement of a hospital.
Yeah, so who knows? Maybe that's what it is. Is like, is Ellie's rampage the cause of fucking everyone's downfall? Like, I don't know. Like, instead of the path of reality being Joel could have used her to save her, he doesn't kill her, they get a cure, and everyone.
Opposite effect.
Now it's Joel saves her, he dies. She's gonna opened up the seal, and now there's potential for that to go airborne, really airborne.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh fuck, that's bad. And that's a storyline or like a path where like we're already getting the instances of like we've seen Ellie is no longer who she was. She's doing a lot different things, and she's a much angrier person, much more bitter person who has things to get off her chest and a revenge thing going right now. So it's like, I don't know how far we take it, or I don't know the ending of the story as much as you would with the game, but who knows?
So a question I got for you with episode 5 is, what did you think about Ellie's confrontation with Nora as a whole? We talked about this briefly when we were at Tanner's, just a little bit. But what did you think about the whole...
I'm trying to remember it. It'd be better if I just freshly watched it.
She runs into her after she's done helping some people and she's washing some stuff in the sink with the chemicals.
Okay, so from
Ellie finds her at gunpoint and says, where's Abby?
From start to finish, yes, I do have a couple of things. Like, I think the intro's fine. They show her, like, she crawls in that little crawl space, and there was a guard with a dog looking for her or something, and he's like, oh, it's just a critter, and she crawls in. And then it's safe to assume she somehow figures out and finds out where Nora is in the building and is able to get into her room where she's like cleaning stuff, medical supplies after we watched her like help someone out, and she's hiding in the back and she like has a gun to her, and just from the background comes out and is like, put your hands up, I've got you. Can't really fucking move.
What you gonna do, bitch?
What you gonna do? Confrontation. Nora talks with her for a little bit. They kind of figure out like, oh shit, you're the chick from there. You're Joel, like the chick who was with Joel, and kind of understands this is probably bad for me. And so what does she do? She like she has something in her hand, like is it water or some chemical or something?
I think it's whatever she was washing the clothes with.
Something.
Some chemical.
She has something, and she like throws it at her for just a hot second to be able to grab time to run. Runs out. This part is where it gets a little dicey for me. It's the stormtrooper effect where she's running through the hospital and nobody can hit her, and Ellie's screaming down the hallway. There's potential for where Nora, obviously, her survival tactic in the moment is, I'm gonna scream bloody murder.
Yeah,
she's in the building. Everyone point and shoot.
Yeah.
Yep, that makes sense.
That's a good call.
Ellie is doing the same thing. She's literally screaming bloody murder for her behind her, shooting like this. Now, that to me is like, okay, so now you're just giving away to everyone where exactly you are. They know exactly where you are. You could at least try to maybe be somewhat. It's still a heat of the moment.
But
chaos.
it's blind rage thing.
It's chaos.
It's supposed to come across.
They do
like
shots where they have what looks like 10 to 15 people shooting at her, and nobody's making a shot.
I know there's
and
one
it's
where they're up on a balcony and
Yeah.
she's running through a giant open area. I was like,
Heat.
oh, we're in full stormtrooper mode
That
right
is
now.
just like why even show me that? It feels like you had no need. If I didn't see that, I wouldn't be as mad. Like, just don't show me how they should have a jump on her and they don't. Whatever. Keep going. That's probably my biggest thing about that was just some of the oh my god, everyone's missing their shots and it's
Other than that center part, I think at the beginning and end of it's pretty good.
Yeah,
the whole Nora interaction.
Because then we do get to a point where she obviously runs into a spot that nobody else would follow, and so she's gonna follow, and everyone's like, okay, we gotta. I don't know why she would. I guess why she would run down there.
But that's something I want to bring up too, because with spores not existing in this universe, and us not showing that they've ran into them before, Ellie knows that she can't get infected from being bit, I guess. But how would she know that nothing's going to happen if she goes down in the basement? She's just going, I'm immune this one, I'm immune to this.
I think it's just
'Cause I didn't even think about that till
blind
this
rage. I guess is really the only way. It's like she's finally got her in her sights. She's gonna follow her to wherever she
But
goes.
then Nora's like, oh, you're good. We're both dead down here. And Ellie's like, no, we're not. And I mean, I guess at this point she's not choking like Nora is. So
I
don't
would
know,
think,
whatever.
from Nora's perspective,
More bullshit.
Nora probably assumes I'm probably fucked, maybe, or like this girl's gonna kill me or do something to me no matter where I go, and I'll just lead her down to a death trap, and hopefully that was the case because she thought she'd die down there with her. Turns out she was stupid. She didn't. She's a
Dumbass
bitch.
bitch. Yeah.
She got her, and then has the confrontation with her to beat the shit out of her with a lead pipe or something. And
she goes full Abby on her.
yeah, pretty
ironically.
much a real comparison right across the board from Abby beating the shit out of Joel, and now Ellie's got to get her revenge and stuff. And I still thought that it was done well. I actually think that's one of the better moments of when you give Ellie just the moment to go fucking crazy for a second. In a moment that has all the logic with it, hey, nobody else would be in the room with you because you're in the spore spot. She's dying. She has no defenses. You have the upper hand in every way. You get your moment.
Yeah.
So it was her moment to be a ruthless bitch and go ham on this chick. And it was pretty good. And I was like, hell yeah. Okay, that's cool. Seeing the spore room I thought was actually really, really cool. Just the way it looks.
People.
Yeah,
You
see from the beginning of the episode, the squad that went in, it was her son that she sent in to go check he calls back and is like, seal it off. It's bad. We're sacrificing it, but trust me, seal it off. And you get to see how all the people are meshed in
horrifying,
with the stuff, and they're the spores are going through them. It's coming out of their mouths.
Yeah.
So it's that's just pretty fucked up to see, and it looked really cool.
It did look really good.
That. Just the way it looked was scary. Where if I was to walk in that room, I would feel the imminent threat of
oh, I gotta go.
This is terrible. This is
because that's something nobody's seen.
Yeah,
not at that level.
This would be the thing that's oh my god, if this gets out, everyone's cooked.
Yeah,
everyone. So
and they've shown that the wolves are a massive, big city population army.
Yeah,
so
yeah. We're no longer in little villages of people. We're in big community, organized areas and cities virtually now.
Yeah.
So people are concentrated again in spots, but. I thought that was still a good, at least ending note to go on, and then it leads into the Joel moment where I was kind of some of the ending choices of these episodes is interesting.
Yeah, it's not
just to kind of bait in that extra I almost wish the episode didn't end with the Joel moment. I don't know why.
And I guess
I think it just feels shoved in to shove it in.
Yeah, I guess I know, and you know because I told you flashbacks are a big part of this whole story, and so you would know So maybe it's not the same for people that don't know, and I'm guessing it's probably not. But I see it, I'm like, oh, so I know what the whole next episode is. But usually cliffhangers are supposed to be that's where we just ended. What the fuck is supposed to happen next, or whatever.
Yeah.
So I guess for people that don't know that, that's probably what that is.
Well, it's only funny to hear in that after episode thing we just heard where the directors are just we're not just putting Joel in because we miss him. No, it's that's the whole reason. That's the exact reason I just talked about this moment in this episode. You put in 1 5-second moment of seeing Joel just because it's
just a little, people are hating this.
Just because people are gonna
Sprinkle that in.
they need to see Joel. They need to. If you don't show him, people are gonna start getting really angry, honestly. And so it's it's okay because that means the structure of the story you had and everything worked so well. People really like this character. The choices being made of how to tell this story, I'm seeing a lot of where people were coming from when the game came out. I think of how it feels. It feels intentionally done at times to like mess with you, to just be like, "Ooh, you feel mad, don't you? Haha, I did that to you, and now you have to feel this way." And it can be kind of annoying sometimes, where it's like, "Okay, I get it. You just want me to feel like I hate this character right now, so we can have a bigger payoff for the emotional part." But don't ruin the character for it. Like, it feels like we're ruining some characters for me because of it.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know. I don't know how to fix it, I guess. Or maybe I do. My thing would be after, I think, hopping into episode 6 now, where we get a whole episode of flashbacks. Why didn't we sprinkle some of these into the other episodes?
That's one of my biggest things about what I want to talk about with episode 6.
Yeah.
Fuck it. Let me do one more thing in episode 5 because we skipped over the part where they go through the stalker fight scene and when Jesse saves them and then what happens in between then.
True.
When they run into the scars.
Yes.
Which I think is another pretty cool part of the episode, which I brought up to you when we talked about it a little bit at Tanner's. But They run away. They get out of the woods. The wolves are like, we don't go in there because they know that's where the scars are. They end up running into a scar, and you get to see more religious zealot creepy scar stuff.
That moment was really good.
It was cool. This is cool stuff. You're building the factions. You're building the fucked up things.
Got the sickle, and they got the dude in a way where they
he doesn't even pull it down. Yeah. They hang him and just pull the rope.
By hanging him and pulling him, they're also then cutting open his stomach. Mm-hmm. It's like, it's just double bad.
So so they're following up with the episode before, which is another cool aspect when you walk in and see the scars with all the gutted people in there.
Yeah.
But then they show you doing it to somebody and like why and how they're just speaking in religious speak, which always freaks me the fuck out. I hate when people speak.
Cult aspects and things are fucked up. Also, just because they exist, they feel weird. They are this extra extreme thing, but they exist. There's people out there who are willing to go to extreme levels of this for a cause.
Well, and especially in an apocalypse.
Yeah,
that's going to be pretty.
Put people to the most extremes.
So then some other stuff happens to this. One thing that I like, one thing that I don't like as much because I thought it was cooler in the game. But they get found by the scars. And then you really get to hear them do their whistle talk in battle, which is cool because when you're doing that in the game, you're running through the bushes and they're whistling to each other and trying to find each other, and you're creeping on them. And they're walking around with their torches. It's so fucking good. Mm-hmm. So that one really got a lot of nostalgia with that. But Dina gets shot by the arrow in the leg.
True.
It's pretty obvious. I think you would assume, especially with how I don't know. I guess I just won't say it because it's a spoiler. It's a really light spoiler, but. Something else happens. Damn, I can't really even say it. No, I'm not going to say it. But yeah, Dina gets hit with the arrow in there, so Jesse and Dina go back to the theater. They say they're going to meet there. Ellie leads them away again, shooting her gun in there or whatever she did. Did she even shoot her gun? I don't know. They found her, or they did not find her. They were chasing her through the woods. And they did something, and I told you this, they did something that I feel like makes sense for... And if you're going to go this is a different Ellie character and this is a different route, and things that you can't do in the game because you can't just go around and kill several hundred people in this, in a TV show if you're trying to make it realistic. And whereas in a game, that's just part of gaming in the aspect. And she runs from them and she utilizes her being tiny, at least to me, and that's how I took it. Her being a really small, petite girl and going into this tree stump that she finds, and she goes into this tiny little crevice and hides in there. And I was like, that makes sense for the things that Ellie should be able to do. Not be able to jujitsu a 6'5", 250-pound man in a barn like that.
You cannot fucking chokehold a guy twice.
You've accepted, and then this is a totally different scenario. I know I'm just using that as an annoying example, but this is a totally different scenario. And I was like, oh, she is using. And it's not even anything that special. It's not even anything that crazy. But I'm like, oh, Ellie doesn't seem like a complete fucking dumbass right now. She thought about something a little bit. It's a very small moment. But I wanted to bring that up because I did like that. And it was really cool seeing the scars again. But yeah, then she comes out. And then we go into the whole Nora scene. Now, episode 6. We'll go full into this, fresh off our minds. We just watched. What you just said is probably one of my biggest things about the flashback. This episode is probably... It's by far my favorite episode of season 2 for me, personally. With my ties and how, especially the game stuff.
Yeah, I feel like
What a surprise when we get Pedro Pascal and we get Bella Ramsey being a kid. We like this episode the most. What a fucking surprise!
Yeah,
It's
I
crazy
think I'm
for me.
You probably feel I'm aggravated because it feels so dumb with how easy it is.
Yeah.
Where it's like, look at what happens when you put these two on screen and give them some, like again, set pieces on this one were like insane.
Yeah, and they're all good.
And there
but,
was
this
there's
really
like
good.
5, 6, maybe 7 different scenes in this episode that are all like crazy looking with the detail of going into like what the location we're at and how it's supposed to look compared to the game. Where I didn't even play the game, but I feel like I can watch and tell
Get a little nostalgia.
how
nostalgia.
these shots are so like well done. Like the set pieces and the cinematography and the way it looks is amazing. Amazing.
And like we've said this whole time, this show isn't objectively bad. Like, we might not like the choices they do, but the acting is great to me, I at least think. I think the acting is great by almost everybody. I think that the show looks amazing. I just like...
It's hard when season 1 was so good.
Yeah, and we're going to compare it to that, and we're going to compare it to 2 games that I think are some of the greatest games of all time.
This has to be the same. A lot of how the game's similar controversy, or at least how the reception came out, was the first game was so good, but the story for the second game does do a lot differently for people.
And
like,
it's 3 times as long and all this
yeah,
other stuff. But
it's vastly different.
before I forget to come back to this, you saying why were the flashbacks not split up and spliced into the episodes that we've seen?
Yeah.
The game does that. When you go when you go through in
What
the
the
game,
fuck?
you have the flashbacks of Ellie being super young, like the first one that he does where he is the first one the guitar? First one's guitar, second one's astronaut, I think.
Getting the guitar, astronaut.
Museum.
17th was getting
The tattoo?
I was
Tattoo,
walking
and
in
then
on
it's
her.
a jump to 19,
Jump to
where the whole
19.
reveal happens, and I got to get into that too. I got a lot to say about this episode.
Jump to 19. That was the first patrol.
Yeah,
Okay.
this episode was fucking awesome. I was tearing up the whole time, especially with the nostalgia that I have and like the things that I know. But it's kind of such a bait because the stuff is so hard to explain. But in the game, obviously, like I was just saying, these things are spliced in throughout while you're playing as Ellie after Joel dies, and you're going in. And I think the way I might have made this up in my mind, like I said, it's been a while since I played it. But I think what happens is you run into things periodically that remind, like she picks up a guitar at some point when she gets into Seattle, and then you have a flashback of her and Joel. You have a flashback of her and Joel doing like guitar stuff, and then you have she finds something or has some sort of reference to space, and then that's when it flashes back to her doing this. And these happen hours apart from each other.
Yeah.
They're spliced in through the story the whole time. I think it was kind of a cop-out to do it as a whole episode, even though I fucking loved it, and it's because I have nostalgia, and those are my favorite parts of the game and what built it up. And like, you knew that Pedro Pascal was still going to be in this, and wanting him to come back and building that relationship so much. And like this game, I'm saying this game, the show, but like the game really forces you to listen to their story and pay attention to it. And like you were saying earlier, you're like, oh, it's forcing you to do these things, but I feel like it's ruining these characters and making me not like them. The game forces you to do them, but you have more. It's a game, so you have more time with them. You can build it up more, and it makes sense, and it forces you into their shoes. And there's one thing that's going to happen, I think, at the end of this season into the second season that's going to be really hard to transition to TV. But yeah, some of these. So there was only one flashback thing that they added, and it was the Lalo Dad Cop thing.
Dude,
That
yeah,
was not
shout
for- that was not
out
good.
Tony Dalton
Yeah.
as just a random cameo, basically.
Yeah, Cody was baffled by
Lala
that.
Salamanca shows
Yeah.
up for a second. I was pumped.
And I think that scene was good. I'm glad that it was really short, nothing too crazy. But I was like, oh, we're starting with a Tommy Joel flashback. Or,
Yeah, that was
I was like, that's not.
that was interesting.
That's new.
Definitely, I can see how by the end of the episode, it's a full circle moment with the same quote from father to Joel to Ellie. So, but interesting choice to give more added in backstory to Joel like that. I think it's just interesting, I guess is the word, because I'm still thinking about it, I guess.
Yeah, I don't think we need it, and maybe it's just because I have more context for Joel and I know him better, I guess, from playing. I don't know. I hate that. Sounds cringy to even say. I know Joel better than you guys do. It sounds so cringy, but like I've just
You know more
done
of the
more.
story.
I've done more. I've experienced more with all of it. I'm aware of everything. I've played the different aspects.
Yeah.
Seen the different aspects in the show.
I mean, factually, you do know more about
Yeah,
Joel.
yeah, I
like,
guess.
Straight up.
Yeah, but so I was like, I don't feel like we need this. I mean, it was cool, but like I already get the whole Joel isn't the good guy thing. Like Joel
I-
isn't
yeah,
like
again,
I already get all
I
that.
think
don't
it just
need-
it keys in onto like, didn't we already know this? Like, I don't need to see this, I guess.
Yeah.
But okay, like sure, it's not the worst thing ever.
Yeah, I
but
thought it was good though.
Yeah.
That's the thing. Like I don't think
it's
it was
good.
bad.
It does give me a little bit of that, like, okay, so Joel, he clearly this is his motive for life once he met Ellie and Ellie came into his life again. He has this, okay, I just need to be a little bit better, but having this mantra of like I can pass on good things to someone else.
But he's
I
worse.
can try.
But it's worse because he has the PTSD of Sarah.
True.
So like
It's
maybe
a
he
warped way of doing it.
and it's in the apocalypse and all that stuff like we were talking about earlier. Like he's super overprotective and like
Yeah.
probably not really as a normal dad that would be in this situation. But you've been in the apocalypse for 25 years. You should
Yeah.
fucking know to let your daughter go and patrol even if she's 18 because
That's-
everybody in this world needs to be doing that.
So that's like another thing where it's like you do hit these weird levels of like Joel keys in on being like the ultra dad where he's like, I'm not letting you go on patrol till 19. Okay, but season 1 happened.
Yeah.
Are we like, does she not know how to handle herself? She does.
And even when they go through
And
the
it's like-
forest and they're riding on the horses, you're like, this reminds me of its old times. And then when they get into the shit, he's like, what did I teach you? Or my back to your back.
and then
your
he
back.
also immediately goes into being like, go back, leave immediately. And it's like,
It's
no,
like, you
no.
just told me partners stick together.
Yeah, it's
What are we
like-
doing? And that's good stuff. This is not
Yeah.
complaining. This is good stuff to me, at least I think.
Yeah.
I like this is good character.
It's
dynamic.
he obviously struggles to have a balance in his life of knowing how to handle being what he wants to resurrect is this life of being a dad that got taken from him.
Yeah.
And so he's trying to find a way to live that while also being
In
in
the
a
body.
zombie
Yeah,
world.
yeah.
That just it does not translate. You can't do it like this. And she is the person basically being like, fuck you, buddy. You can't just like tell me a good moment I liked where he like dads her up in the room to be like, this is my house and you do what I say. And she's like, you don't own anything.
This is not that world.
We're given this.
Yeah,
you
don't-
have nothing. Like,
we don't live in that
and it's
world.
like it's super true. It's like what
She has no context for what he's probably referring to.
yeah, but even
No.
but even then, I love that like it's so true. Like Ellie, and then it hits Joel pretty hard, like right then and there, where he realizes he's like she is totally right. Like that's very true. I don't have the right to just in this world tell anyone else a lot of things like you used to in a normal world. You don't get to. It's just different. Survival is key. You have to do things differently. But I do like watching that he has to try to juggle this, and he's doing his best, man. It's like he's just doing his best. But again, yeah, like it just feels weird. I watch these scenes, and I'm like, man, these are so good. Why would you have taken this away from putting it in an episode 2 or 3 or 4 or 5? Split any of these up and intersperse them in all the other episodes. I would like all of them more. It would give me more context for the moments that I felt weird about. And
Oh my god.
like it just feels weird. It doesn't seem like logical to me, I guess.
The big one, and I knew you could tell by the way that it was edited. Maybe you didn't just because you didn't know about it, but like this. Oh god. So maybe it's the beginning of episode 2. Basically, when Ellie comes back after the dance. Maybe it's the end of episode 1.
Oh.
And looks at Joel on the
He's
deck
on the
and he's
porch.
playing with the
Yeah,
guitar.
he's playing.
That is like that is like one of the biggest scenes in the game to me, and one of the
No, that's a huge moment.
It is so. It's great.
That's Joel's breaking down. It's the first time we've ever really seen him shed it all because he is being put on trial, and this is his she's telling him, you have no choice. Otherwise, I really will walk away.
But in the game, they do it when she comes back. This, jumping back to it, to the second to last episode of the first season, is like, oh man, dude, I just feel like it could have gotten rid of a lot of the Ellie just being a fucking asshole and being a dumbass and like and I know they're trying to bring it back but for me, it doesn't hit the same. I want to see her progress and how she goes as she goes. Like, not... The flashbacks are different, but like if we're in the current timeline, like that one's a flashback to current timeline. Like you know what I mean?
It does,
and that scene is so fucking good. Like that is some Pedro Pascal acting. Bella Ramsey does amazing. Like
it feels more to that detail of like why do I feel like I'm being forced into watching the shitty Ellie just so this moment hits what you thought was a little harder. But it's like I don't think it does.
I don't think it hits harder.
It's like I don't think this hits harder. It's still a great, like you're saying.
It's
probably one of the better moments in the entire show because again, finally getting some resolutions to these like, does she know? Does she not know? Have they spoken about this? what is the deal? Who actually knows what's happened? And he finally actually has to fess up to it and does an amazing, an amazing job. He can't even get the words out. He's just giving her nods of a no or a yes, and he's just holding back everything he can, and even goes as far to say like, and if I had a second chance or give me another chance, I'd do it again.
Because that's who Joel is.
Yeah, and so like I do like that where he fesses up to her and himself to be like, this is who I am. I have to accept it, and I fucked up. And then she gets another one of her best moments too. She gets really pissed off and like gives the reason I've been waiting for someone to say. That was my purpose. I'm the cure. That's literally I would have had a purpose, and you took it from me.
Yeah,
that was good. That was amazing. Like a line, like of a yes, we've gotten that. So I wanted to hear that for a while, and I thought she killed it with it, giving that over with like between the tears, but not sobbing. Like she's mad. She's mad. Like she's crying through like feelings of like fuck. Like,
but it gets even better.
Man, like there's so much happening.
It gets even better because this is a thing in the game too, and I'll get into this in a second. But that whole scene's not the same in the game. Like I'll explain in a second. But after that, she says, I don't think I'll ever be able to forgive you for that, but I'm willing to try because she's still. I'm getting almost choked up from saying it right now because I remember it from just everything. But like, it just shows like even with how fucked up of a person he is and the fucked up things that he did, and she knows now, and she's known the whole time. She's assumed, but she still loves this guy as her dad so much that she's like, I'm still willing to try. And when she talks about it in episode 2 before Joel gets killed, where she's like, yeah, we worked that up and we figured it out already. You see that in the game. And like, I feel like the show is going, like with the flashbacks that they just did right now, the show is going for one big punch all at once. Whereas I feel like the game is like just building and like feeding it and seeing you the whole time when you're going on. And I feel like that makes it as a whole better. And again, this isn't even close to being done. We are maybe a quarter, maybe a third of the way through the story of the second game. Yeah. Like there's just so much. The scene.
Get back to Abby at some point. Remember, she exists. Like
that's what I'm insinuating at the end of the season. The scene where Ellie figures out. So, okay, let me think about how to explain this because them on the deck when they have this moment, Ellie already knows. They've already had the confession moment like a year or two ago when she was like 17, which is what I thought was going to happen in the 17 flashback or something like that, or like the 18 or something in between the 17 and 19. But she already knows. Joel has already admitted the shit to her. Joel has already had that moment. They go to like Salt Lake City and like she goes to look for herself. I believe, again, I might be making shit up. I wish I could remember things well from this game that I played years ago. But Joel like follows her there or something, and then she breaks down and like finds evidence, and she's like, same thing that happens on the deck there. But that deck scene is basically just taken out where Joel admits everything and Ellie confronts him, and it's just plopped into one of the flashbacks, which is another really awesome fucking flashback. I think it's good. I think it's probably just as comparable in the show because that scene was so fucking good. Shout out to Bella Ramsey and Pedro Pascal in this, who I think did so amazing in that. But I did like what they did in the game. It's just, this is one of those things where I can definitely just admit, oh, it's just different. It's still great. It's just different. But yeah, it's totally pulled out. It's a whole other flashback where it gets admitted. And then they just come onto the deck, and then Ellie's like still mad at him after she pushes over Seth in the game. And then she's like, hey, yeah, still same thing. Like, I don't know if I can forgive you, but I'm willing to try. So they make up. And then Joel gets a golf club smashed into his head the next time she sees him.
I was going to say, in that moment, I also noticed what feels like me watching, and when an actor gives so much, it gives the other person stuff to work with, was that moment between them. Because I feel like I noticed a moment where if I was her trying to act against him, there's moments where I'm trying to be mad with her. But his responses are so...
He looks so fucking sad. He looks so sad.
He looks so sad that even you're watching, you're like, I just can't rip this dude to shreds right now, can I? Like, he's really pouring his heart
Especially
out.
As a guy who's been such a hardy, steadfast guy.
This is the most broken you're ever going to see this man in his entire life. Yeah. You're watching it happen.
I mean, he dies the next day.
Yeah, and it's like, I love getting... It's like, it's always just like kind of sad to see it and say it, but like, man, when Pedro is on screen with her, it brings the best out of her and it's bringing the best out of him. Like, them together works really well.
Well, it's clearly Pedro because you know what the other best scene in the show is? The therapy scene.
Yeah.
So it's like,
well, for
maybe
season,
it's not Pedro.
for season 2 especially, where it's like, you've watched season 1, so you know how hard of a dude he is and what he's gone through. So you get to watch
fucked up shit he's done.
him have to break down these walls and try to be vulnerable in front of people, and he's really, really bad at it. Like, he doesn't even talk. He kind of doesn't get words out. He just kind of gives head nods because he's so locked down on that.
Yeah.
He just will not let it out. But like, getting to that point where he can finally shed it is like, that's
oh my god,
good stuff.
Oh my god. Okay, so I need to say this because I think this is one of the better additions to the show that we've had, like, all together. Maybe up there, the Bill and I can never remember his boyfriend's name because I always want to say Bill and Ted, but Bill and his dude's name. Other than that addition to the show, which I think is the best thing because that episode was fucking awesome. I think one of the best additions that they added to the show, which you won't know, is the whole Eugene thing.
Oh, with
the Eugene thing, because in that Eugene like gets killed by some infected or something when he's out at his dispensary, not at his dispensary, but his grow up,
his weed hut.
Like you don't. That's not a character you see in the game. His wife doesn't exist in the game either. Catherine O'Hara. What's her last name?
Sure.
Yeah, I don't know. But she doesn't exist in there. I mean, maybe she doesn't just in the little, because those are just things you find out and learn just by reading like notebooks and notes and stuff. But that scene was so, oh my god, everything about this was awesome. God, I really did like this episode. So Joel finding Eugene and finding him bit in the woods, and we already assumed that's probably what it was going to be when she was taught, when they had the therapy scene with the way you killed him and all that stuff. We already kind of knew and had an idea of what
insinuated it had to happen in some way.
And then we're like, okay, I want to see how it didn't have to happen that way. And honestly, it was kind of worse than what I was trying to imagine. I was like, this is fucked. And it's more Joel being fucked and showing that he's not the good guy.
I do like, too, how it leads into Ellie's true, holy fuck, I just saw the same thing twice, and I now got I know.
That's why I'm bringing this up, because that's why I think this is so fucking awesome in the show and how they did this, is because Ellie only really finds out and gets confirmed in that flashback to Salt Lake, like I was talking about a little bit ago. This is a really cool scene because it's Joel again promising and giving his word, and I didn't put it all together until she came out and was saying it over Eugene's body to God, I don't know the characters, Catherine O'Hara,
therapist.
Yeah, the therapist. But she's watching this whole thing and watching Joe blatantly lie, and we're all sitting there too. And I remember being just sitting there like, oh god, and we're squirming and just a little bit at every lie he says, because he says 4 in a row. You're like, oh, this
says he wasn't scared, he was so brave.
And he literally says,
specifically says, I'm terrified, I'm so scared, I just want to see my wife's face.
Just the complete opposite. And I mean, I don't condone, I don't accept what he did, but he is saying this is for the best. I think she would accept this the best. She won't know any of this stuff. It won't be as sad. He's wrong, I think, but in Joel's mind, he's trying to do the right thing in that moment, just like he's trying to do with Ellie, but he's doing it in a selfish way, just like with everything, because probably the only reason that he actually shoots him and doesn't let him take him back is so he doesn't fuck up Ellie. At least kind of how I took that. Maybe not necessarily.
I don't know.
It's always a selfish thing.
I am kind of
selfishly unselfish thing.
A little, trying to figure out what his motivations are behind being so fuck no. Unless it's just his survival tactics coming out.
That's what it is. Joel's just a savage. He's an asshole.
Just being no, this is the plan for reasons why I'm alive for this long, it's why you're alive for this long. It's because we haven't broken these rules and we abide by these rules. It's why it works.
Yeah.
I do agree with the idea of it's stupid to bring someone who's is infected back to the population. To the epicenter of where all your people are.
Yeah, and I see Ellie's idea too.
I do also get
they have an idea of how long it takes.
Yeah, if you know how long it takes, and you, like you said, tie him up, you just put him on another horse or something, and you just let him sit behind you or have him go in front. You'll always be able to get him if you need to, and you just see if you make it. And it's
shout out to everybody in this, though. I feel like even the supporting characters just having great performances, because this Eugene guy, even when they first meet him, oh yeah, this dude's putting on a good performance, saying how scared he is. He's like, oh, this makes you cold. Wasn't expecting that. It's kind of weird. And then when he gets down to the I'm just going to call it Banff Lake, because that's what it looks like. It looks like a fucking Banff Lake.
Looked like Banff.
When he gets down to that, and he's just like, I don't need a fucking view, Joel. I need to talk to my wife. And he's like, I'll tell you her last word, or your last words. It's like, I don't need to tell her my last words. I need to hear her. I need to see her. I'm like, oh, That hits hits hard.
and
It's
think
like I don't need a fucking view. I was like, oh, this
and
is
him
good.
saying like this isn't like me getting my last words to her. This is I want to hear her last words to me.
Yeah.
Like I'm the one dying. This is for me, bitch. Like I'm
Yeah.
being selfish. Yes, let me be selfish.
Yeah.
And I think actually now I'm saying it's like Joel's life is a lot of moments of him getting the choice to be selfish or not, and he gets the choice. And he takes away a lot of people's choices of what they get. He's the guy who gets to be like, nah, not today.
Yeah, he does what
like,
he thinks, what he
There's
wants.
a lot to be
Selfish.
said. Yeah, a lot to be said about Joel loves, or not loves, but believes he's the guy who gets to who has the say.
He's the hero.
He believes he is truly the main character of everything. And
Which is fun.
Yeah.
Funny because game 2, season 2, you're not the main character, bitch.
Exactly.
You're out a couple hours in, second episode in.
Yeah, the shift, it changes quickly. But I do agree, like, a lot of this stuff was amazing scenes, giving so much more background to moments that make more sense, I think, now with why Ellie acts the way she acts at times. I still don't think it really goes...
I still don't love it.
Yeah, it doesn't...
It's more
actually
annoying
It gives context to why she's angry, but it doesn't give context to why she's still just as stupid and sarcastic at times.
The sarcasm is kind of what she's always been, but I think they've amped it up too much into this.
I guess to me that's part of, maybe that's just a story element I don't like in general, is that in my mind I would see this girl as becoming stone cold. She wouldn't have that humor anymore. I feel like she'd lose that sense of humor in life with all this stuff around her falling apart.
It feels more like that in the game.
Yeah, like it,
I think.
Okay, fair.
She's still sarcastic.
But it's not like that.
Not the same.
I think that's just my gripe with the show, is the way they're writing her to be like so happy-go-lucky at times, like it's so not serious, where it's like, this is dead serious. What are you talking about?
But it's supposed to come off as like putting up a front, you know?
Yeah.
So, again, that's what I think they're getting into, where like the kind of funny excuse where like they're making, this is a different Ellie. And I'm like, again, like I said, why are they calling it The Last of Us then? But so it's one of that
true.
that I've
Creative decisions are always going to be, you can't get all of them right for everyone. So it's like, in the end, it still does give a lot more context. It helps out with a lot. This is probably the best episode of the season by far, I would say.
I think it's probably a top 3 or 4 episode of the show.
Yeah, you get a lot.
I think it's awesome.
Well, I mean, again, a full Joel episode feels good to be back, kind of.
Like I said at the beginning, what a surprise. We like Ellie as a child and Joel being in the show.
Yeah, okay,
crazy.
I guess I do want to say this. All her moments when she's younger, and I guess it gives credit to the story before turmoil happens in their relationship, really.
Yeah.
The Ellie that we see in these flashbacks is the most believable we've seen in season 2, where she's like, she can be snarky, but she still has that, like, I don't know, I take her more seriously. I straight up take her more seriously when she's in those flashback scenes. And then as soon as we hit that point of she's supposed to be the, like, cold-hearted revenge or just, like, different, I guess maybe that's the intention, is I wouldn't like her in real life either. She would be that kind of person that I don't get along with as much now. And, like, I guess that's it, but
it doesn't mean I like it.
Yeah, I guess it doesn't.
That's what you're trying to do.
Yeah, I guess I don't like it, and I've watched other shows do things with characters where they want me to, like, push me into, like, they're not a good person, but I still like watching this happen. Like, it's entertaining and done in a way that I'm enjoying it. This is still being done in ways where I'm like, I'm just not enjoying it as much at times. But then there's little bits and pieces that hit, and I'm like, well, then you give me a scene like that, and it works way better. Why does it not work as well in the other ones?
Yeah, I want to jump into one of the flashback scenes here because that I was so happy with, which was the museum scene, because it's obviously way longer in the game. You're playing as Ellie. You go around and put space helmets on. It's really cool. It's really drawn out. It's way longer. Obviously, TV show to game adaptation. But I was so happy when they got into the space shuttle or the lunar lander or whatever. That's not a lunar lander, but whatever it is, the capsule that lands you back on Earth. And they actually got in it. They had her put the helmet on. Joel gave her the cassette. They had to do this because this is such an iconic moment from the game. And then they actually have the editing to make the capsule shake. They have the sound effects coming through the capsule. They have the lighting changing on the outside. I was like, oh, thank God, because that was like a full recreation of the game. And I remember being that being one of my favorite things that I saw in there. And I was like, that one was hitting me in the feels for sure because I love that scene, and that is and that happens so early, and again it's spliced into while Ellie's going into Seattle, or like when she's going on her revenge journey, it keeps splicing back to Joel, and why that's so good in the game is because it keeps reminding you this is why Ellie's on this journey, this is why Ellie is doing these fucked up things, this is why it's horrible, but instead it just seems to be like her making out and fucking Dina, which she does in the game, but it's different. She does in the game, but it's different, and like I like it. I like how it happens in the game. And this, it just seems like, I don't know, they just left it out. I feel like that just adds so much.
It really feels like
that scene.
There's no reason in the episode where they are look at the tank and she mentions the astronaut stuff that we don't just transition.
Yeah, you don't know that.
Like
I know that.
It's like that we
the guitar.
Yeah,
the song.
Yeah, like why aren't we transitioning directly to the flashback moment?
Yeah.
From there. Maybe they tried it in a cut. They watched it and they're like, it just didn't work as well as we thought. But I'd love to see it because I really feel like it would do so much to add to how this feels. Like
and
the pacing issues would be solved a lot more with
it'd be slower, draw it out a little bit more, it'd build a bit more to what's happening.
You get more time, more answers, and some of these low lows would not be as low. And I still think the high highs would be just as high though. We'd still get my good zombie stuff and all the other things that are good are there. But we just move the spots where those flashbacks are, and it gives some breathing time for where these pacing things where we're just like, all over.
Again, they went for the one hard punch in episode 6 instead of like the slow development of the game, which I like that forces you into situations. And
it's an interesting choice. It's just a really interesting choice.
Yeah, it's
when you know.
I love that you brought that up without me having to say it.
Yeah,
like why were these not spread out throughout the show? It's like they are.
Because it truly hits on my main gripe of like these. If you truly just put this in earlier, I would take away a lot of my complaints at times, and that's where it's like this is kind of the House of the Dragon thing at times, where it's like we waited all of season 2 is just all build up for no payoff, and it's like, but there's still good things happening, and I'm still entertained, but it's like. Just because we got the moments that I'm now looking back, I'm like, oh, it helps that. That doesn't mean now all of that's good now.
You're not getting payoff in this season, I can tell you that.
Yeah, either way. It's just like, just because you gave me the things that I've been wanting to see at times or that felt better, it doesn't mean you still didn't like fuck up the other stuff at times. It's like, this is only giving me now more reasons as to why it's done the way it's done, as opposed to just like we're saying, put these in earlier. And I think it's a better product.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. It just feels like it.
I agree. And I mean, it's
a
nice
product that already exists in the game.
I was going to say, it's nice to hear you say that because it doesn't feel like me diving back too much as a person like, oh, I played the games and this is how they did in the games. This is how they should have done it. You said that natively without me even having to bring it up.
And to know that, and then to hear you be like, that's how they do it in the game is like, well, what the fuck are we doing?
Well, there's a lot of that in season 2, unfortunately. That's how they do it in the game, and it just makes more sense.
We knew this would be kind of, I think, the talk of the whole season. Was just going to be this constant, like,
that and Bella Ramsey being older.
Yeah, how does the game do it versus how does the show do it, and how are they going to handle some of these more controversial or just dodgy like subjects that they're trying to hit on in the story? And it's like it's very interesting to watch some of these choices play out now and be like, a whole flashback scene instead of putting these anywhere else. All right, and that's a choice.
And we brought this up about the first season, and I mean, I get it. The first season is way easier to adapt as a movie because it just is. I'm not going to say stuff because it'll spoil things in the second game.
A tighter story.
It's a tighter story. It's shorter. It's a lot more cinematic and linear. And no, that's not even the right word.
Yeah.
It's just that
I'd say it's more linear, definitely.
That's true. Yeah, there's no flashbacks.
To its benefit, it's structured around Joel and Ellie, and just where do they go? What happens around them?
The Last of Us Part 2, it does so much in it, even for a game.
There's
Adapting it to a movie.
So many more characters, so many more big stories happening all at once now. So you got to juggle a couple things, can they?
Yeah, and with that happening, that adds more room for them to want to change things and adjust, which they have done in season 2 compared to season 1. There was a few things, mostly things that I liked, a couple of things I didn't like. I can't even remember them right now, but I remember that I talked about them when I did my reviews. But I get that, and that makes sense. And in this, it makes sense also why they're having to change more, because there is more going on and more bold and crazy things that they're doing in it. So, I mean, this episode definitely, like, we'll see what episode 7 does, but this one, obviously, I wasn't out, like we said before, but, like, I was down on it, but I'm like, oh, this episode was awesome. Like, I was tearing up the whole episode. And that might just be nostalgia from the game for me, and I think a decent amount of it, except for that porch scene.
I think this episode was still done super well. Yeah. Like, everything does what it was needing to do. I think every scene conveyed the emotions I wanted to feel, and I
It's what we were yearning for, what we talked about.
Yeah, it's just getting back to what felt like square one with some of those original moments. And it does hit better when you do know, like, obviously it's more sad to watch Joel and Ellie have those hard moments after already knowing he's not going to get to talk to her again. These are moments that are set in stone because Joel is dead and he will not be coming back. So these are some of their last moments they had. And you had to watch some of that happen and go down, and it's like, it hits differently because you know the whole picture. Like, you have more of the picture. Not even the whole picture, I would say, but at least more. And I don't know. Yeah, we'll see where this goes. I have an idea, I think, of what is going to happen in the season finale.
I actually don't.
Based off what they showed in the quick little, like, in the next episode thing.
I guess I kind of have an idea for the very end of the season 1, but, like, I don't know what's going to happen all in the
I don't know
last
the whole.
episode.
I think I have an idea of a moment that should happen, probably.
Yeah. There's also a few flashbacks that were left out, but there's not that many left, so I'm very interested to see if they have a whole nother season. Well, no, I'm not. Never mind. That's not true. Unless we get some flashbacks in the next episode, then I'm going to be really sad that it left out one specific flashback that I think was probably my second favorite one. I won't spoil it just in case it comes. But I guess it will. Never mind. I'm breaking it down in my brain here with things that I know.
Just kind of have to see how it plays out.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, I'm back on a high of The Last of Us.
It was a good episode, for sure.
It was a really, really,
This
really good
definitely
episode. It's one of my favorite scenes.
Compared to the last, which episode? Episode 2.
It'd be 3, 4, and 5.
Episode 2 was the
3, 4, and
like
5.
the Ray or the big breakout.
And Joel dying.
And yeah, so like episode 2, big ass episode,
Yeah.
pretty damn good. 3, 4, 5, it's
They all kind of blend together.
Kind of a roller coaster of a lot of different things. It's not all good. It's not all bad.
Yeah.
But then you get back to episode 6, and it's like, oh, another really good one here. Another really good one.
Yeah, so I mean, it's the penultimate episode, so you know that's probably also why they had to throw all their shit at the wall to. No, I can't call it shit because it was really good. I liked it, but they had to throw everything they had in the toolkit.
Yeah,
at the wall.
they're pacing with the time frame now. It's starting to show where it's like, okay, well, we got to get back to current timeline to try to set up for season 3 probably. So we have to have we have 1 episode's worth of time. We've got all the flashbacks.
Yeah.
Fuck.
I wonder how long it's gonna be.
Like, I can't imagine they would push much in this. Like, I don't see it being anything much longer than an hour, really.
I think I now that I'm remembering a little bit more, I think I actually know probably exactly what's going to happen in this episode, as long as I don't change anything too drastically and crazy. But yeah, I'm super excited now because I'm back in, baby. The Last of Us, let's go, come on, greatest show of all time.
And we'll see how fucking long it takes them to get season 3 out.
Yeah, that'll be interesting too. And just I wonder if they're going to split this game into 2 or 3 seasons too. That's another big thing. From the way that I'm thinking that this is tracking, I'm hoping that it's just 2 and 3. But also there's we don't need to dive too deep into this, but there's rumor like they should be making The Last of Us Part 3. So that's going to make things the game. Yeah, so that'll be a whole different can of worms we'll have to open when we get there.
That's just more intriguing on like, oh man, a TV show that's coming out at the same time as video game properties has not really been a thing.
Yeah,
and
trying to
George
keep R. R. Martin.
Yeah, a timeline.
Especially with how long AAA video games take now.
Yeah.
Like, yeah.
I mean, the only thing in that benefit is Last of Us Part 2 came out fucking 2018 or something. Or no. That was the first
I think it
trailer.
came out in 2020.
Oh yeah, I think that was the first
because
trailer
we went to
scene.
E3 when we first were seeing it.
And that was just like releasing like just the first ideas of it, and like seeing some trailers.
Yeah.
So
at the end of the day, we'll wrap up a little bit here, but this episode gave me all the feels as a really big game fan, and Cody enjoyed it. So I'm thinking this one's going to be a pretty popular one. So hopefully it still keeps people interested, because I still want to see what they want to do. I hate that people are fucking review bombing because something that's not objectively bad, just because you don't like what happens in the story choices and all the Bella Ramsey stuff. People shit on her for
review bombing stuff. It's like rating in anything in this day and age is so impossible. It's like we even try to like give scores to stuff, but it's so true. Where it's like I think in most people's minds a 7 is like average.
Yeah, which is not
really
not
like
for me. Not when I'm saying
a 5 should kind of be like
a 5
average.
is average.
If you're on a rating of 0 to 10, and it's like it's so hard for me to want to put a number on anything because anyone's just gonna have something to say about it. It's
I
like,
just go by.
it's
the
like,
way.
yeah, did you enjoy it or not? And I'm like, I'm enjoying and I'm entertained by the show,
Yeah.
so I'm watching it, and I like it enough to have an opinion about it. Like,
Yeah.
shows that I actually watch and care about, we go this deep in, and it's like,
Yeah.
if it was a truly shit show, probably wouldn't be watching.
With
Like,
this podcast, probably would have been about 20 minutes instead of an
Yeah,
hour and
like,
5 minutes. It'd
yeah,
be like, yeah, I mean, it sucked. I don't
yeah,
know.
but instead I am willing to want to go into the weeds and like really get in the details of like
yeah.
like some things that do seem minuscule, but when you like the show and like I'm thinking this hard about it, there's times I'm gonna see stuff where I'm like, that didn't make sense.
Yeah.
What the heck?
And
it's
that's
like,
part of the fun about it. That's the
Yeah.
shit I love about doing this stuff and like doing the podcast in general. It's like I actually get to like break out all my thoughts and talk deep, and I'm forced to. I don't have my phone. I don't have anything. Like we're just gonna
Yeah.
talk for a fucking hour
Well,
straight about the last.
And
of Us.
it has been cool to see like from the first few episodes of this season where we were talking about. I remember specifically saying like, if we don't get any flashbacks this season, like what are we doing? And then it's interesting to be like, well, they didn't.
so pivotal.
They didn't do that, but they saved all of them for one episode. Like, well, that's an interesting choice.
I remember when I was saying when we were watching the episode, I was like, as soon as they said the 1 year later, right after the first one, I was like, oh no, the whole episode's gonna be
It's gonna be
flashbacks.
like,
Fuck.
I don't think that's a bad idea. For me, as someone who didn't know, at least watching it, I did like the concept.
I think it's only because I knew.
I like the concept of knowing or like watching. It was smart to do every birthday. Like, let's hit her 15th, 16th, 17th. I don't think we saw the 18th.
They skip 18.
And then go to 19.
It goes from 17 to 19.
Yeah, so I like seeing that, like all the birthdays. And you do see a progression of her becoming more of an adult,
Yeah.
maturing, and going through her issues, and Joel having to face and deal with them.
I thought the
head
tattoo
on.
gun was a weird dildo.
There
When I
you-
first saw it, I was like, whoa, why did they cut so quick and away from
the
it?
vibes were weird when you hear that, like, same as Joel, you hear noises and he knocks and they're like, fuck, what the hell? And then he just busts in and it's like, they had their shirts off, but she was tattooing her. But were they also getting frisky?
Well, because you said
Like-
also fooling around.
Yeah,
like,
so it's like, it was a mixture of like, he's like, you're doing all of it at once. It's like they
Yeah.
were smoking, she was getting a tattoo, she was getting frisky with a girl. So
Yeah.
Joel was just like,
experimenting with girls.
oh, he was like, holy shit, this is a lot.
I was a little overwhelmed. And then with the, like, 17, by the way, she's like, I'm 19. And I'm like, okay. I don't know.
Yeah, the
Right.
look, of like, don't push it. Like, get the fuck out.
Yeah, what are we
Didn't
doing?
ask what age you were, but cool.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was a great episode still. I still like really enjoyed it. If I had to give it a rating, it's like I'd probably give it like an 8 or a 9, I'd say.
Probably give it a 9, but I think that's me being. I think that's just nostalgia bait. For
It's-
sure.
yeah.
Getting all my flashbacks in one episode.
Because
like, probably my favorite parts.
I'd only be docking it because it's like once you watch it, I still have the feelings like the whole reason is like these could have been placed better.
Sure.
And
yeah,
I think it
sure.
would have worked better. It's like now instead of having what feels like a pretty decent first episode, a really good second episode, and then 3 very mid episodes, you could have made all the mid episodes easily way better and more entertaining.
3, 4, and 5 could have all been 7s instead of 5s and 6s.
Yeah.
And then this episode being a 9, like it could have been
Yeah.
all spread. Like
It's like, I guess, if you take all the episodes away, what is episode 6? And it's like, I don't know. Well, now you have more time to do other stuff.
which you need because
Like,
it's such a long
'cause
game.
we're
and
yeah,
it
the
already
ti-
feels quick. But we said the flashbacks will
The
space.
7
pace a little
episode
better.
season is interesting.
Yeah, and they're not super long episodes either. Like some
Yeah.
of the run times of them are in the 40s,
So-
which is so.
That's interesting to see them go for 7 episodes.
Yeah,
I don't know.
and yeah, maybe that's going to lead into why they have to do season 3 because maybe they're prepping for part 3 of the game, so they can have enough time to
Maybe
get
it's
that out.
just
That
like-
gets really into the weeds
Maybe
of
it's
the
just
Last
like
of Us
fucking
stuff.
scheduling or something too. I feel like that almost might be like, did they only have Pedro Pascal for like a week, and they're like,
is a
okay,
busy- he is a
okay,
busy bitch.
we have like 10 warehouses with every set piece. We're gonna go for a week straight, and we're gonna bust out all these scenes. It's
He
like
is- he is a
it feels
busy
like that's how it is when you watch. And you're like, damn, oh, this was the day that Pedro showed up, and they had to do all their scenes.
And he showed up.
And he did,
motherfucker.
yeah, he does.
performs.
As always, he
Yeah.
shows up. He will give you a performance.
All right, let's round this out. The Last of Us brought me back. I'm having a great time with it. Let us know if you're watching The Last of Us. I know we got a few friends that are watching this and following along. Your opinions on it, what you thought about 5 and 6, and kind of your opinion. What you think about the whole flashback episode, especially if you're a person that has played the games and if you're a person that hasn't. Like, I just like to see people's different opinions on that and what they think about it. It's so funny that Cody and I have the same opinion about it, me knowing everything and Cody not. Like, I thought that was so funny bringing that up because we didn't even bring that up before we came down here. We just said that. So, I think it's super cool. But yeah, let us know your thoughts. Like and subscribe, all that fun stuff. And we'll see you guys next week with episode 7, season finale.
Oh.
All right, have a good one, everybody. Bye-bye.